Hi, welcome to this demo of managing functions lifecycle with Oracle Visual Builder Studio. My name is Shai Schmelzer. In this demonstration, we'll show you how to manage the lifecycle of your functions code, how to automate the build and deploy process, and how specifically to publish to the Oracle Container Registry and deploy your functions to the Oracle Functions service. One of the functionalities provided by Oracle Cloud is the Oracle Functions service. You can find it under the Developer section over here. Your functions are going to be created inside a compartment. We already created a compartment and even created an application in there. Inside this application, we can deploy multiple functions. So far we have two functions here and we're going to add a third function. If you click the Getting Started, you'll get information about how to use the fn command to create applications and load them into the Oracle Cloud. We're going to leverage this, but manage our development from Visual Builder Studio, a team development platform. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new Git repository for our application. We're going to call this repository the Go function repository, and we're going to create an empty repository without any files in it initially. When the repository is created, you get a set of instructions on how to access it. For example, here's the git clone command you can use to get the repository into your own machine. We'll issue it from our terminal window over here. This would clone the repository and create a Go function directory on our machine. Let's switch over into this directory. We'll make sure that our context is set correctly for our functions environment. So we'll use the fn list context to see which context we're using and make sure that we're mapped to the Oracle one. If we switch back into the instructions in the Getting Started, we can see the command that is used to create an example Java function over here with the fn init function. So we're going to copy this one, but we're going to create a function using the Go language. So we're going to modify it a little bit, and for the runtime, we'll choose Go and then provide a name for our function. This would be the Go function. We'll create it and we'll create a directory. Inside this directory, we'll have three files that construct our function. Let's add those files into our Git repository, commit them with a specific message, and then push them into the Git repository. This uploads those files from my machine directly into the cloud, into Visual Builder Studio. Let's switch back into Visual Builder Studio. And we'll click again on the Git section to refresh our view. And we can see the directory has been loaded, and inside the directory, we'll be able to see the three files. So the next thing that we're going to do in Visual Builder Studio is automate the way that we build and deploy those applications. We do it in the build section of Visual Builder Studio. We already have a build job here for another function. So we're going to create a new build function. We'll call it Go Deploy. And we're going to copy the definitions for this build from the existing build system. We pick up a VM that has the Docker function and OCI components on it. Here's the configuration of our build job. It's hooking up to our Git repository. We mapped it to our master branch and we automatically execute it every time that there's a change there. The steps for our build starts with connecting to the container registry. We provide the username, password, and location. Then we're setting up the OCI CLI environment, and then we're using the fn specific build step to build our function. We need to provide the working directory in which our function exists in the Git repository and the information about the container registry we're connecting to. Next step we're going to do is actually publish the function once it was built. Make sure that your function and directory names have the correct uppercase, lowercase over here. Again, specify the registry name and the username. Next, we're going to use the fn OCI to configure our fn context for our function. And then we'll use the fn deploy step to deploy our function to our application. Another possibility of deployment is to use the OCI-FN commands, but we're not going to use it this time, so we're going to remove it and click Save to save our configuration. Once our configuration has been saved, we can click the Build Now to queue our build for execution. This goes into our build queue. It's going to be picked up by an executor to actually run the specific steps we defined, which include building, publishing, and deploying the application. The green indicator here indicates that we were successful. You can click on the log to see the actual log of your build process, and at the end you'll notice it completed successfully and deployed our function into the application we had on our environment. Let's switch over to the functions console. And if we look at the functions now, we can see the new functions we just created has been updated over here. We can click on it to get more information about the performance and the calls being executed calling it. Let's switch over to our terminal and invoke our function. To do that, we can use the fn invoke command and provide the name of our application and the name of our function inside this application. We can see that we misspelled the name of the function over here. We used uppercase. If we actually look at the function name over here, you can see go function at the top is all lowercase. So let's update our invoke command to use go function all lowercase. And now we're invoking our function and we'll get the return value presented to us. The return value is simply a message saying hello world. This is the default for a new function created. Now let's see back in Visual Builder Studio how we can manage the life cycle of our code. We'll switch back to the Git repository over here, and we're going to create a new branch to make changes in the code. We'll create a branch, give it a name, and we'll basically replicate the master branch. Next, we're going to switch over to the files in this branch, and we can actually edit the files directly from the web interface. You can, of course, check them out into your favorite IDE and edit them from there. We're going to use our web interface, click on the pencil, and just change here the message that we're showing from saying hello to saying hi there. Then let's commit the changes, provide a commit message, and we can provide a lot of details over here if we want to. And now the changes are inside our branch. The next step is to execute a merge request, aiming to merge the changes we did in our branch into the master branch. So we'll point our merge request to the Git repository. We're targeting the master branch with the changes in our branch. We automatically identify the commit that was done. We can have other people review our code. We can also link it to issues in the issue tracking system and even have builds that would be part of the review. Here is our merge request right now. You can see the exact changes over here in the changed file view, and you can approve the changes and provide a message with the approval, and also merge this from our branch into the master branch. We can even delete our current branch if we're happy with the merge. Once we executed the merge, we'll go back into our Git repository. We're in the master branch, and if we look at the file in the master branch, it would now have the changes we did over here. Since we changed the file in the master branch, we can see that our build has automatically fired up. This is because the build configuration is configured to execute each time that there's a change in the master branch. Just like before, the build is put into a queue. An executor is picking it up, executing it, and again, we were successfully executing the build, which means that if we invoke the function again now, we would see the new message coming back again. Okay, so now we get hi there world, and our function has been updated. You can go back into the function console to refresh the view over here and see statistics about the invocations of your function. So far, we just deployed it and invoked it once since our last deployment. So let's see, we can see over here, we can see the invocations over here and the duration as well. In addition to deploying to the function service, we also took the function, which is a Docker container, and publish it to the Oracle container registry. Let's go over to the Oracle Container Registry, which is also available under the Developer Services category. And over here, we'll be able to see all the containers that we registered, including the container for our function over here. It was created 8 minutes ago, and the last publish was 3 minutes ago when we did the code changes. So this was the full development lifecycle for a function from creation through publishing, making changes and automating the publishing, all done from Visual Builder Studio, giving you one place where you can track the full lifecycle for your function development